teenager? Some people might be like, Piper, that was like 2 years ago. No, it wasn't. No, thank you very much. I'm gonna say that to my beautician. She's gonna be super happy. Well, when I was a teenager, there's a lot of stuff that happens when you're a teenager. You discover your sexuality, you learn to drive, you finally get a little bit of freedom, independence, and autonomy. You have your own kind of bank accounts. And then, well, your brain is not really fully developed. So you do all these crazy things that you think are totally normal, and you don't understand why people that are older are not doing all these crazy things. And then you grow older and you're like, now I get it. Probably it's because I was not fully developed, but I was doing all these crazy things. Well, teenagers have wonderful, wonderful things that they actually do. And that's why we are looking for teenagers. So if you're a teenager, come here, yeah. This is the podcast While We Wait with your host, Piper. Because while you wait for your EV to charge, we entertain you and discuss everything about electric vehicles. Now, some of these things that are related to electric vehicles are also related to gasoline vehicles. I know this happens, but not to worry. We're talking about teens versus self-driving cars, because the self-driving feature is something that is sort of new. It's definitely more upfront in those electric vehicles, but it's still there in the gas vehicles. We all remember what happened with the cruise control. That was kind of like the beginning of self-driving, right? The whole cruise control thing. And so that was not on EVs. There wasn't any EVs back then. Okay, maybe 2 or 3 being developed in labs somewhere. But in general, it was really all about gas vehicles. They were there. Then adaptive cruise control came. And then all of these other better technologies like line assist and steering wheel jerking, meaning that if you don't go in the lines, it's gonna jerk a little bit to get you back into there. And this is why the subject for today is a very important subject and something we need to discuss, because the newer generation is not having the same driving experiences as we did. And we're talking about maybe 15, 20 years ago? Let's not go that far. Let's not go to like our grandparents who actually were driving horses. And that horse pretty much drives itself. You don't really need to drive it that much. You don't need to put the flasher. It's not necessary. Hello, Dave Frank. How are you today? Thank you for dropping in. Yes, we are talking about everything and anything related to teens and self-driving. If you're not a teen, well, don't worry. You must have been a teen before. If you're younger than a teenager, where are your parents? This is a cool podcast, but I don't know if you should be listening to this. That being said, you are nostalgic about your teen years. Well, this is the right time for you to get right down onto the road leading to memory lane. We're going to talk about everything we did as teenagers related to driving. Yeah. I know, the good, the bad, the ugly. Let's give it all. Let's find out all of the bad things so that the newer teenagers that we are seeing while growing up behind the wheels now can actually have a better driving futures than us. Why? Because we want the world to evolve, people. We don't want for people to stay stuck in the age of the Flintstones,
You know the pain of parallel parking?
Yeah, the pain of parallel parking. A pain of parallel parking.
When your instructor tells you, now tell your car to self-park.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Just like that. So there's a thing with parallel parking and all of these things that you need to learn as a teenager, but you still have no idea how to do all of that. You weren't born behind the wheel unless your name is like Michael Schumacher or like one of these F1 Formula driving pilots. Maybe your parents just kind of put you there before you were even conscious. But most of us are gonna learn to drive around 15, 16. I'm talking Canada and the United States of America. I don't know, like you, where you are. What's the driving age for, people to get their driver's license? And I know there's a few stages. You get like the noob one and then the learner one. In Quebec, there's also two. Yeah, you get the L. You get an L on your bumper. It says learner, but It sounds like loser. You get an L. After that, you get an N, or after or before. I don't even know. I didn't do my driver's license in Vancouver, British Columbia. I did it in Quebec. You are listening to While You Wait, the podcast that talks about everything related to electric vehicles, and sometimes we go into, well, philosophy a little bit, you know? We need to get down to there. The subject today is teens versus self-driving cars. We were all teenagers at one point in our life, so let's talk about this, and let's talk about, well, the newer generation that is learning to drive right now. What are they driving on? Possibly, well, those electric vehicles and vehicles that have more self-driving capabilities than what we used to have when we started learning how to drive. Super easy. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure you share that video/podcast. Super easy. All you need to do is click on the share button right down below. Share it so that, well, you know, we can make a difference. We can make sure that teens out there, well, drive more safely, and possibly also us. But we are going to talk about teens mostly. We have Chris Pankuch, who's here. I lost my driver's license 4 times before I was 18. Wow, that's a lot. 4 times before you were 18? If I got my driver's license at 16, that's like 16, 17, 18. That's 3 years. How can you lose? That's more than 1 time a year. How can you lose your driver's license more than 1 time a year? And I didn't get it back until I was 21. I understand why they wouldn't give it back to you. I would have not given it back to you either. I mean, what did you do? 4 times. 4 times. Oh my God. This is intense. Do we have other people that were teenagers just like Chris?
God bless autopilot.
God bless autopilot. Just like the Americans would say. Drop a comment if you were a teenager like Chris, or if you were one of these like super considerate teenagers and you never lost your driver's license. Now we also have Hey Fish, who says, love the outfit today. For those of you who are not here in the visual sense, but only in the podcast sense, that's because I tried to dress like a teenager. No, just kidding. I dress like that every day anyways. But that's the perks of being a YouTuber. You can do whatever you want whenever you want. Meaning that I am wearing like some red fishnets and huge glasses. Well, to accommodate for the Katy Perry I Kissed a Girl music video. Same but different. Chris Pankage says 125 miles per hour in a 35 miles per hour zone. Yeah, that's definitely why. Well, at least you didn't go in prison. I mean, that could have happened too. No plates on my motorcycle. Well, come on. Oh, then drunk driving too. Ooh la la, that's a lot of stuff. All kinds of fun. The 80s ruled. Oh, okay, so that's an interesting point, though. I have to give it to Chris. If you did get your driver's license in the 60s, the laws were a bit different. I mean, baby seats were not a thing. So a lot of these things we won't see anymore. Electric Brian says only 1 DUI. Only 1? That's great. That's way too many. Yeah, exactly. 1 is too much. Like there's the one thing, like how bad is it? That depends. What's the offense? Like, oh, one, yeah, but 1 death, that's too much. 1 Oreo, not enough. You know, it depends on what you're talking about. This is not sponsored by Oreo. But if ever you want to sponsor our super awesome podcasts, make sure that you go on our Patreon, patreon.com/2girls1electriccar, to support all of our awesome endeavors on YouTube related to electric vehicles. Thank you to all of our patrons. We do have a few, and they are here listening to the podcast right now. Hail Fish says, I still have mine from when I was 16. What do you still have, your DUI? Yeah, definitely the permit. Looked much different back then. Wow, so they did not change the picture? Do you still like use it? He says it looks so different back then, and now every cashier does a spit take when they check my ID. Here in Canada, the longest we have is 10 years now, but I think that you can only do 10 years. So after that, you need to change your picture.
I think in France or some country in Europe, they keep the same picture all their life.
But you're not recognizable. I mean, all your life, you keep the same picture all your life. How would that even make sense, people? That's so weird. And then times were very different. It's true that times were different in the 80s. I mean, drunk driving was, let's not advertise it, but I mean, it was not advertised. That's the problem. It was not advertised. People actually they had mini bars in their car. We're not talking tailgate party, people. We're talking having a legit bar in the back of your Buick. That was cool. That was cool. It was 1 Pilsner of beer and I got pulled over. Okay, you don't get drunk from 1 Pilsner. You know, here the limit in British Columbia is 0.05. In Quebec, it's 0.08, meaning that you can be a bit more drunk in Quebec. If that's something that arranges you, make sure you move there. 8 years ago, I had a buzz cut. Now, well, they double take me all the time. Well, okay, so that's the thing. In the United States of America, they do card you a lot. So we will talk about photographies and driver's license because that could be a really cool subject for a podcast, I feel. We are talking about teens versus self-driving cars. Can teenagers outsmart or outmaneuver self-driving cars? If they can, how dangerous can that be? And if they can't, well, why? Let's dive right into the subject because I'm Piper and you're listening to the podcast while you wait to charge your EV. We talk about anything and everything related to EVs. We were all teenagers at one point in our life, well, or so we made it till this age. I don't know how, but that has happened. I don't know how Chris survived, because Chris definitely should not be alive right now. I mean, Chris, how did you do it? Please give us secrets. Tell us, do you eat kale? I mean, what's the secret? Because so far there's a lot of stuff going on in the live comment section. Self-drive versus traditional drive, because some of us have actually learned to drive the old way. The old way. And I'm not talking shift stick or automatic gearbox. No, I'm talking just like learning to drive without any assistance. I mean, it was a thing. If you got your license like me before possibly the year 2010, we'll call it like that, or 2015, because that's when self-driving car or more like assisted cars started to be more in vogue in Canada and the US. Well, that means that you've actually learned to drive, park, like put your flasher on, stay awake in the car. All of these things you had to learn for real. The car would not help you, do it for you, or even hint to it. Now you even have a little flasher, or sometimes like a little, you know, a little something in your mirror that is going to tell you that there's somebody in your dead angle. Or that's how we say in French, dead angle. I don't know how it's called in English, but I'm sure somebody in the dead spot, right?
The dead spot.
The dead spot. So now the dead spot is actually like, bam, they tell you.
The car, they fixed it.
Exactly, there's no more dead spot. The car doesn't even need to tell you, it knows. Ta, 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 ta. It already knows the dead spot's there. It knows who's in the dead spot. So if you it knows it before you do, it can call your mom before you can. That's exactly one of the things you need to understand is that us as drivers prior to 2020, let's call it like that, well, we didn't have all of this help, all of this assistance from our cars. So we had to learn to drive a whole different way than the drivers that are coming on the road right now, that are coming behind the wheel right now. Yes, we're talking about teenagers because those are the ones
They're gonna drive later.
who are driving right now and who are going to learn to drive with these models. I mean, if a lot of parents have Teslas, that means that their kids are going to learn to drive with a Tesla.
Does driving school will be obsolete? When driving
Exactly.
school will be obsolete?
Exactly. When would driving school be obsolete then? Because
That's gonna be another
self-drive, that's going to definitely be another podcast. I need to note it. Driving school obsolete. That's something we are going to dive into, but right now, let's talk about the main difference. So the main difference were that you had no assistance, meaning you were alone behind the steering wheel. When I say alone, sometimes you have a co-pilot. You have somebody who's like, hey, don't do that. I mean, and they make you freak out more than you actually need, but that can help sometimes to have a co-pilot. There's somebody there. All of these crazy things where I see a police. You have Waze now also that can help with police and speed guidance. You have all of these other applications and other things, and I'm not just talking about like detectors of radars and things like that you can also have in your car. But it's a possibility, it is there. That being said, if you are like me and you learn to drive the old-fashioned way, I mean the way where you had no assistance, well, now getting into a car like a Tesla Model X, which I have, or even in my Chevy Volt or any newer model car, yes, electric vehicles, hybrids, or gas vehicles that have a lot of software in them, makes it a lot easier to drive, a lot less tiring, usually for long distances, especially if you're on the highway. Now, if you're not on the highway, it's a bit different. You still have this kind of assist cruise control, which will brake and all of that, but doesn't know when the light is red. So you're gonna need to brake and redo it and all that. But if you're doing like long highway road trips, you could actually kind of self-drive, and I put like my fingers up for this one, to your destination. Yeah, I know, it's crazy, it's really crazy. Now, Chris is saying that there was a person on YouTube that tried to take self-driving Tesla for HS drive test and got caught. Well, I mean, I think people are not dumb. I think most people know now that Teslas. Yeah, you're pretending. I'm pretty sure people know that the Tesla is self-driving, and many other cars have self-driving. Again, capabilities, feature, they can drive assist. Of course, no car except for like Waymo and things like that are fully autonomous and can fully self-drive without a steering wheel, without you touching nothing. Now the Teslas do have the FSD that they just like unfolded, so full self-drive, but they still require you to touch it. Yeah, you need to touch it, not just the tip. You need to touch it. It's a thing. Oh yeah. Oh.
That doesn't, you don't need to pay attention.
Oh yeah, so apparently Mercedes has an FSD, so full self-drive, that is legal in the United States of America, and you don't need to pay attention. That is very interesting. Yeah. We'll dive into that later.
I've been seeing this.
Mercedes, you're up next. You're gonna get the treatment of While You Wait, the podcast that you listen to while you wait to charge your electric vehicle or while you're on your lunch break. Doesn't really matter, as long as you're waiting for somebody or something. We are here to entertain you and educate people on electric vehicles all over the world. Yeah, so cool. This is recorded live from British Columbia, Vancouver. Make sure that you actually turn on all of your notifications to this channel. That way you can catch us when we're live and interact in the live comment section on YouTube. If you miss it, you can still find it in the podcast playlist that has the same name, While You Wait. Yay! I know people are happy about this. Super nice. Teen driving skills. Bam. Teens versus self-driving cars. So teen driving skills. Like we were saying, you're a teenager. You're literally a teenager. You just got your first pubes. I mean, you don't know how to drive because you don't know yet. Okay, we're not talking about the exceptions, those who drive like grass, like lawn mowers and things like that, and like go karting at the age of 3. They go kart. We're not talking about those people, okay? We're talking about the mass. Meaning that when you are a teenager, you will have to learn to drive. Okay, I know where you're going with this. Full self-driving, nobody's gonna learn to drive later on. But we're talking about right here, right now, at the time of recording this podcast, so 2024. Now, a teenager has no driving skills until it learns it. A bit like any human doesn't know how to eat with a spoon until it learns it. So you need to learn how to drive. It's a set of skills. Some people never go for the test because they live in the city and they don't need it and they take public transport. Other people live in the countryside, so it's kind of necessary to get their independence to get that driver's license or just to go do grocery. It doesn't matter how you're doing it, why you're doing it, but the people who are getting their driver's license, well, they need to learn all these things. They need to learn the test. So yes, there is here in Canada the theory test, which is just like questions you answer to behind a desk, and then there's the actual practical exam where you go on the road and you need to do all of these things to make sure that you can respect the rules of the road. That being said, well, teenagers have different skill sets. Why? Because, well, they're teenagers. So they're half developed, if we can say it like that. They have some capabilities. Quarter developed. I don't know how much on a scale of 1 to 10 we can put that. If you're a teenager, it's time to defend yourself. So let's fight about this. Come on in the comment section and tell us all about, well, your driving experience as new as a teenager, how you feel in this world that is your own. You're growing up into this, you're in it right now. We want your actual input as well. So invite your teenage friends and let's talk about this. Let's fight. Chris says, I took my test in 1981. I wasn't even born then. On a Z28 manual transmission in a snowstorm. Wow. The instructor was so overweight, I couldn't shift to third and fourth gear. But she was too large to fit. Okay, those are not my words. Those are Chris' words, just putting it out there. But that is interesting. Howie says, good afternoon, X. Hey, Howie, how are you? Dave Frank, my high school experience was like the movie Dazed and Confused. Okay, so lots of drugs. Lots of drugs. I was dazed and confused. Yeah, that's what I like about college girls. I get older, they stay the same age. What's up, Fitzroy Morgan? Thank you for dropping in from the UK. We have people from all over the world actually listening to this podcast, which is called While You Wait. While you wait to charge your EV in the UK or in Canada, in France. I mean, I don't mind. Wherever you're waiting, make sure you tune in.
Starting at noon.
It starts at 12 p.m. Pacific time. That is Vancouver time. Ends at 1:30, and you can always find it in the playlist that has the same name, While You Wait, on the YouTube channel. Yes, we will be talking about drug use, don't worry. We're talking about teenagers. I mean, if adults do it, imagine teenagers. So the ability for teenagers to drive is pretty good. I mean, they play video games, right? So that's kind of one thing. The actual response of teenagers in general or younger humans, well, is fast. I mean, it's fast, like really fast. Reflexes are usually faster when you are, I'm gonna say younger, but okay, maybe not 1 month old. You're getting it, right? Okay? Please don't misinterpret me. So they do have these like amazing reflexes. But then we need to talk about like the decision-making skills though. Do they have that decision-making skills? Do they can comprehend like the dangers and the effect their decisions will have? That's to be discovered in this podcast because we're talking about teens versus self-driving cars. So that being said, teenagers do have survival instinct. Yeah, they do. Just like any human on the planet, they have survival instinct. So of course they don't want to perish on the road, much like many humans. The problem doesn't necessarily lay there. The problem relates to all of the other components that are on the road with them and, well, their ability or capability to cope with those in real time, but also, well, what they did before or while they're driving, meaning drug abuse or use. Don't need to abuse it. You can just use it. That's enough to not be able to drive. And then, well, sex and all of these other things. So we're going to go in there, and while you're all sharing your drug stories in the live comment sections, well, we're gonna move on, people, to the pros and cons of teenage driving. Of teenage driving. I mean, what are the real pros and cons of teens versus self-driving cars? There has to be some pros. They can't be just like non-pros. If we learned to drive with vehicles that did not have any assistance, like not at all, except for flashers, which are called blinkers in English, sorry about that, except for blinkers, a few mirrors, like 3 mirrors, and, well, that's pretty much it. A brake pedal, a gas pedal, and if you're going shift stick, well, you got the clutch. That's all you got. That's all you got to make sure that nobody hits you or you don't hit nobody. This is the same thing. That being said, self-driving cars do have some pros, and we're talking about pros according to teenagers. Again, put yourself in the teenager suit. If you're already a teenager, then just be yourself. Be yourself. No, but in case this video becomes viral with teens, I don't know. That could happen. That could happen. If you're a teen, leave a comment. Please do. Please do. I would love that. I would really love that. So the pros of self-driving cars related to teenagers driving, being behind the wheel. Like we said, they are actually getting their driver's license right now, right here in 2024.
For nothing.
For nothing. For nothing. It's just it's normal. People are getting their driver's license every single day. And the driver's license they're getting are usually with cars that are on the market available right here, right now. I'm not saying they have the newest cars. Well, they have their parents' cars, that's for sure. And EVs, hybrid, and all of these self-driving assist features are enabled in most cars nowadays. Unless you have a car that's 20 years old. If you have a car that's 10 years old, there was already this cruise control, adaptive cruise control, maybe even lane assist, some parking features. So it's definitely there. Definitely there. That being said, okay, the thing with the safety. Let's talk about safety first. So safety, bam. Safety. Now, do you know who gets into a lot of car accidents? Teenagers. And young adults. Now, the thing is, it's other people also get in accidents, not just the teenagers and the young adults. But here in Canada, if you go on Google and you do car crashes in teens in Canada, you will find these statistics that say that there are a lot of crashes in teenagers that are getting, killed, to say the least, in these car crashes. Okay, that being said, it's one of the most fatal thing that could happen to a teenager. Most teenagers are not gonna die, but they will die in a car crash, which is really bad. It says over 700 young people are killed each year in road crashes in Canada, and a further 50,000 are injured, many seriously. These totals include some 350 teens killed and 24,000 injured. So that's really bad statistics. That's not the statistics we actually like to hear about. That being said, that means that teenagers are getting into car crashes, and some of these car crashes are very severe. Now, when you crash a car, you're like, oh yeah, you're crashing the car, it's you in the car. But sometimes you actually crash into another car or into somebody that's walking on the side road. That's why it's really dangerous. So safety, just if we're talking about safety, all of these self-driving cars or these self-driving features on any electric car have been shown to reduce the actual accidents. It's a fact, people. It's a fact. Accidents caused by humans is a thing, but by having the self-driving or these features, it makes the accidents go down. It's proven. It's on the internet. If you have some proof that goes counterwise, bam, let's fight. Actually, drop it in the live comment section so that we can all benefit from knowing it. But if you take the self-driving capabilities and you leave the human behind the wheel, we're not saying to sleep, in your car. Well, you're mixing these two together, meaning that there is less of a chance of you getting into an accident. So more safety. Walter Johnson just dropped in. Hey, Walter. Hello. He says, so teenagers need an adult with them in the car to wear seatbelt. Well, okay, so that depends on your driver's license, where you're at with your actual driver's license. Some driver's license, if you have the first driver's license, then you need an adult to be with you. Then you can be alone, but nobody else in the car with you. That's how we do it here in Canada. I don't know everywhere else. And then at one point, after I think 2 years or something, you can now drive and have people with you because they're scared people are going to distract you. Hello, Trevor. Thank you for dropping in. We also have Fitzroy Morgan, who says Tesla cars are great. Have test driven a Model S and Model 3. Both are great to drive. Thank you very much for saying that, Fitz. Yeah, I do own a Tesla Model X. It's a news one, so it's 2016 model, but I do love to drive it, and it does have some self-driving capabilities, not all of them, but it makes the drive on the highway or for long road trips a lot more relaxing. I'm Piper, and you're listening to While You Wait. It's the podcast that you listen to while you wait for your electric vehicle to charge or while you wait to finish your lunch break. Doesn't matter, it's there, live, and when it's not live, you can find it in the podcast playlist on our channel that's called While You Wait. Same thing, super easy. Okay, that being said, well, I did drive the Tesla Model S, and well, definitely Fitzroy is going to be able to tell me this because I did drive a newer Tesla Model S. And, well, these self-driving cars have advanced sensors. What do I mean when I say advanced sensors? I mean that actually they can see things. They can see things. What do you mean, Piper, see things? I mean, they know if it's a human that is crossing the road. They know if there's construction cones on the road. They know if it's a motorcycle. They know if it's a truck. They know if it's a car. So all of these sensors that they have around, and here I'm talking about the Tesla Model S. So I don't know about these other ones, but make sure that you drop a comment if you have more information about this. All of these sensors, well, they actually make it so you are driving, but you're having all of this extra data that maybe you're not computing with your brain because you saw a pretty girl on the side of the street. so you forgot to look in front at like the other girl that was like crossing the street. So these added sensors make it so it is more safe to drive because the car will beep, or at least it will tell you that there's something in the way. Maybe it won't drive itself to not go towards that obstacle, but at least you'll have a warning because your eyes cannot be everywhere. Whereas with a self-driving car or something similar, it doesn't have eyes. It has camera and data and sensors, and so it sees everything. It sees like everything. It's everywhere. It's like really everywhere, which is really mega crazy. And then, of course, it needs an algorithm to process all of that awesome data. So all of this algorithm is doing is processing it real time, meaning that if you are a teenager and you just took algebra, I'm pretty sure you're good, but are you as good as an algorithm? Probably not. And I'm saying this as like, I'm not good like an algorithm either. Especially with sizes and distances, you know? Yeah. Those are difficult ones. 6 inches sometimes is a lot bigger than you think, sometimes a lot smaller. Really depends on the person. That means that, well, this algorithm in self-driving vehicles, well, helps the teen or helps you behind the wheel to actually process all of the data from the sensors, from the cameras, everything that is happening near, and it's processing it in real time to give you the best information possible and for you to stay safe and for others to stay safe as well. So it's pretty intense, but it works, you know, it works. So far it works. Also, well, as we were saying, it's gonna react faster. Why does it react faster, Piper? Well, because it's processing this data. It's not asking you. If you activate it, it's not gonna ask you. It's just gonna do it. It's just gonna make sure that you're actually, well, in a position where you can do something about it. So either, like I said, it's gonna give you a signal on the dashboard, like lights or something like that. It's gonna give you maybe a like sonar, like beep, 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 a sound, an actual sound. So you're gonna be able to react to this because as humans, we can react like to the environment, especially if you're behind the wheel. You should be like not blind, you know, and you should have hands and things like that and be able to actually drive the vehicle, even though it has self-driving capabilities. So that's it for like safety and all of the safety that happens during like when you're driving. So a pro of having teenagers driving self-driving cars would be that it's just an added security and safety feature for them to be behind the wheel of something that already processes some data, already kind of knows how to drive, you know? If you're a teenager, you might not even know how to drive. Well, the car already knows a little bit how to drive. And so it can help you.
Better than me when I started.
Definitely better than me when I started, and better than You when you started. Better than everybody when they start. If you start, you don't know nothing. So of course, it is going to be better than you. Which leads us to, well, supervised learning. Meaning, dun, 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 that if you're a teenager and you're watching this, yes, because we're talking about teens versus self-driving cars. Thank you for dropping in. If you're not a teen, well, just go down memory lane and remember when you first got your driver's license, well, your old parents' car, when you took all the money you had to purchase your very own first car. Of course, it was probably not new, so definitely not self-driving. Well, the teenagers of today might have the possibility to actually start driving on a self-driving car or very close to self-driving car. This podcast is called While You Wait, and I'm your host, Piper. Super easy. Now, supervised learning, meaning that, well, you all had a teacher to learn driving, or I hope you did. I hope somebody just did not put you, like, in an actual street with a car and told you, good luck. That would have been really dangerous. That would have been, like, really, really dangerous. So you had a parent or a family friend or someone, a bigger brother, sister, who showed you how to drive. Or maybe you did not have nobody like that, but you went into a school, driving school, and you learned to drive there. That being said, well, if your vehicle already has self-driving capabilities and you are learning to drive, it's an added bonus, not because it's driving for you, but because it actually tells you what not to do when it's beeping, flashing, or jerking the steering wheel on the other side. It sometimes will jerk the steering wheel because you did not put your blinker or something like that, meaning like, oh yeah, I need to not forget to turn on my blinker. It's a great help. So learning to drive with that type of vehicle must be quite cool. A bit like having, you know, learning something with a teacher behind you all the time. But instead of having like one teacher, you have two teachers, and one of them actually has a brake pedal, just like in your driver course and test. Yeah.
Wait. Do we need brake pedal?
Do you need? Yeah, exactly.
We need to make an entire podcast
about this, about driving courses and driving schools.
You don't need a brake pedal anymore.
Brake pedal. It's true.
Self-driving, and it doesn't. It's just there analyzing your detail. If you don't turn, he's gonna turn for you.
Exactly.
It's safe. And
Exactly. Plus, you can take all of this data and see like how good you were. I mean, there's even sometimes with some electric vehicles, there's scores. So you could kind of have a score on how efficiently you were driving it. You know, they could implement a sort of,
turn it, but if you don't turn, it's gonna.
yeah, exactly. So there could be sort of a game or something implemented for actually people to learn to drive with these vehicles. There's already games in the Tesla for kids where you're actually behind the steering wheel when the vehicle is at park, don't worry. And then well the game actually starts and you are driving with the steering wheel. That's great for kids who want to start to kind of learn to drive when they're 5 years old. I mean, it works. So supervised learning in a vehicle that is like supervising you. The vehicle's already supervising you. I'm not saying that teenagers go in self-driving cars and then, well, they don't need to do all the tests and all that stuff. And yes, you need somebody else in the car with you. You need an adult. You need somebody who has their driver's license too. It's not just an adult, it's somebody who owns a driver's license. And the regulations are different from many countries. In some of them, you need somebody who has like the most extra mega driver's license. You cannot drive with somebody who has like their half driver's license because they're still younger. Now that you know this, well, it makes a lot of sense that it is less dangerous for teenagers to learn driving in a semi-self-driving car because, well, they're less of a risk of an accident for them and for others. The car is going to take in some of those, well, safety risks that can be totally alleviated with a self-driving car, like not looking at your dead spot, like actually not braking quick enough or things like that. The car, if you put these features, will do it for you. So that could be a really good way to really start slowly to learn to drive, you know, because even though you activate most of the self-driving features, which I did on my Tesla Model X, now it's not full self-drive, but it has like semi It has like adaptive cruise control. So if I put the blinker, it will change lanes for me. Like, so it's still pretty good. It's still pretty good. That being said, if I do like if I'm driving, it's a bit like a video game, you know? So I do like if I'm exactly driving, and then I play the game. So I learn at the same time. Teens versus self-driving cars. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of jobs that are gonna be lost to self-driving cars or self-driving vehicles. Yeah, truckers. All these driving lessons, possibly. Taxis, taxi drivers. It's gonna revolutionize the transport industry. Let's just say it like that. We will dive deeper into that subject in another podcast because I think it really deserves its own podcast. I'm Piper. And we are talking about teens versus self-driving cars. Now, yes. Yeah, go ahead. Think while you wait? Oh, yeah, this is good. Think while you wait. Okay, so it's think while you wait. Thank you, Walter. Think while you wait. School buses, even maybe school buses, all of these things are gonna be like really obsolete in the near future. And we're talking near because Tesla is coming out with the self-driving taxis that will actually come and pick you up. So it's like a Uber with an electric vehicle with self-driving capabilities like Waymo and all of the other ones. We have Hack of all trades who says, I was the self-driver for my uncle long before I had my last license. They drank, I drove. Yeah, definitely, that was the good old days. The good old days. Nowadays it's a bit different. That being said, let's go to parental control. Why? Because we're going into teenagers. So teenagers definitely should have parental control on their devices. And that being said, I'm not a mommy, so I don't know. But if you have a teenager, or if you're thinking of having a teenager, that means you're thinking of having a child that's gonna grow long enough to become a teenager. Well, and you go on vacation for 2 weeks. What is the kid gonna do? They're gonna steal your car, they're gonna do an open house party. They're gonna do all of that stuff. It's all gonna happen. But with all of these actual self-driving cars, well, you can input restrictions. Yes, restrictions. Just like in any smartphone nowadays, you can put parent control on the computer, web browser. You can also activate parental control. There's a lot of parental control out there, and of course it evolves depending on the age of your child or teen. So you can adjust it to go like that. But a car like the Tesla Model X actually does have some restrictions. You can put it in valet mode, meaning that if you go somewhere and you drop your keys with the valet, it's going to stay in valet mode because you have a special pin that you enter, and that way, they can't access all of the features of your car. They can only access, the driving part. They can't change all the settings, put another name into it and all of these things and see where you went. So it's for data privacy mainly, but also to make sure that, these people kind of, don't go overboard, because you never know. They drive around with your vehicle.
Like you bring a Lamborghini, they drive around.
Of course, if you bring a Lamborghini, they're going to drive it around the block. Why not? Yeah. Why not? So that being said, there's restrictions that you can put in newer vehicles, and that's not just EVs, it's also gas vehicles, because we're talking more software here. And EVs do have software. It's the whole point of an EV is to be a tech geek dork, is to be that person, Yeah, go EVs. So these restrictions, you can implement them. Like I said, on my Tesla Model X, you can also implement a speed limit, meaning that you can restrict some of the drivers to have speed limits on them. Meaning if you don't want your teen to go more than, I would say, okay, I'm in kilometers because I'm here in Canada, so it's a bit different. But if you're expecting them to not go on the highway, let's say, that would be 50 kilometers, so 30 miles per hour. So you could block the car to 30 miles per hour because all of the zones they're gonna go in are gonna be lesser than that. So there's no point into unlocking it. No, don't do that. I mean, keep it restricted in that sense, just like you would restrict their web browser. And also, well, you're gonna be able to track these things, which can be a really good thing if you're looking to give independence to your teen, but at the same time, you wanna see how long the leash goes. Also monitoring, like I was saying, monitoring all of these things. So by having a special pin in your car and by accessing like the data, you can monitor. So you can let them go stress-free, but if ever you're like, oh my God, where are they? You can actually pinpoint where they are, a bit like Find My for finding your teenager or their phone because they lost it. You can, Find My is really like Find My girlfriend or Find My teenager. That's really only what it's for, finding your kids. If you're looking for a great way to spy on your child, well, you didn't hear it here, but what you can do is definitely get them the newest iPhone, activate Find My, and tell them that if they ever delete that, they don't have phone anymore. It's a great tool. Plus, well, it alleviates a lot of the stress of being a parent and just waiting and not knowing where your child is. Same thing if they leave with your car. Well, you can track them. Now, in a parental way, in a good way, but I think that's a good point. All of this software will actually tell you where they've been. So if you tell them not to play with that other kid, and you see that they went to their house, you'll know. It's all these amazing features that you have access to. Also, if you tell them not to go to that part of the city and they go, or things like that, well, yes, it is spying, but you're a parent. You're supposed to do that. That kind of comes with your job, to know what's happening. Yes?
It knows everywhere.
Yeah, it knows everywhere you went. Like literally everywhere you stopped, everywhere you went. The Tesla Model X, and I have a 2016, so that's an older model. It knows everything. And you can actually have a pin in your car, making it so it doesn't start if you don't have the pin. So if you don't want your teen to use it while you're on vacation in Puerto Rico, well, you can just put a pin in your car and then they really cannot access it. Now, that's not trust, but I mean, depends on the teen you have and how you raised them. Okay, we have here, if you have helicopter parents, your kids will never ever trust you and will hide everything from you. Well, thank you very much. That's Chris giving parental advice. Electric Brian, you can see exactly where the car is on the map. Yeah, how fast it's going, what the AC is set at, what's on the radio.
And you don't like them, you cut them.
You don't like them, you cut the AC. Exactly.
Or if your teens too hot right now in the parking, you put the AC.
Yeah, exactly. If you think that they're doing too much parking, you just put the vehicle even hotter. They're going to open the windows, they're going to leave. They're going to be like, this is too hot, this is too hot. They're funny. Yeah, it's birth control and parental control all in the same thing. You don't want your kids to get pregnant, right? I'm Piper, and you're listening to While You Wait, the podcast that talks about everything and anything electric vehicle related, and of course, well, subjects that are a part of technologies in this present time. Teens versus self-driving cars. We are going over the pros of, well, having your teen drive a self-driving car, actually learn to drive on a self-driving car. So we are in the pros section right now. Don't go anywhere if you want the cons. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen very, very soon. A bit more pros. If you have comments, just go in the live comment section and drop them. We do read them. The thing that a lot of peers have, and I have to say, nobody is immune to that, and that is peer pressure. Peer pressure. Now, because of peer pressure, teens sometimes can do weird stuff. I mean, even adults, grown adults can do weird stuff due to peer pressure. So one of the things that a teen can do with peer pressure is, well, not respecting the speed limit. It would be also to have things happening in the car. But with all of these parental controls, you can make sure that that does not happen. Or if it happens, you know about it. That being said, well, peer pressure can happen to everybody, but you can speed lock it. So there's no way they can go overboard, even if they could in another circumstance. So you need to be conscious of that, because when kids are usually learning to drive, they need to have a person with a driver's license in there. And most of the times they have to drive alone. Well, that's the laws here in Canada. So you can't actually have anybody else with you in the car while you're driving because, again, that could lead to peer pressure or could lead to distractions and things like that. But with a self-driving car, well, all of this peer pressure, distraction could be reduced because actually the car is driving a little bit for you. So that would help. Maybe they will change the driver's license laws and regulations according to that. Maybe sooner than later you will be able to just get your driver's license and drive with 5 people in the car because anyways you're not really driving it. But for now, it's still like that at the time of recording this podcast.
Come on, Siri, if your car responds.
Siri?
Siri.
Okay, yeah.
Siri in the car.
If you put Siri in your car,
You're like, come on, Siri, go.
go faster, go faster, go faster.
It's not gonna.
No, Siri's not going to do it. Siri's not going to do it. So a computer is not going to do it if it's locked. There's no way, right? There's no way.
Come on, Tesla, you can.
Come on, Tesla, go faster. No, the Tesla will not react to peer pressure. That's a very good point. The Tesla will definitely not react to peer pressure, or any software will not react to it. Meaning that, well, it's going to be immune to it. Hey, Michael Looters, thank you for dropping in. So happy to see you. We also have Carl, who's just coming in. And then, yeah, you can also see Electric Brian is saying how many kilowatt hour they used. So you can really track everything and anything. This is crazy. I mean, give that to your teen. That way you even know more about them than you did before. That's really like the whole point of this. Okay, I know everybody wants to talk about this because that's what everybody's been talking about in the live comment section. Drugs and alcohol. It's happening. Yeah, let's talk about teens and drugs and alcohol. Usually when you're a teenager, that is when it all starts. Because when you're a baby, you don't really like have other people that offer you, you know. But when you go to high school or college, depending on where you're from, well, you're gonna have your first experiences. Let's start with drug and alcohol experiences. We'll go to the other experiences later, okay? So you will have these first experiences with drugs. Marijuana mostly. I mean, it depends on how intense your kid is. But marijuana definitely. Plus, it's legal here in Canada and in some states in the US. So it's not legal for kids or teenagers, but it is legal. So it's more, let's say, maybe more widely available, more accessible. They can find it in their parents' drawers and things like that. Those gummies are not necessarily for kids. And then, well, alcohol, I mean, it depends where you're at, but alcohol has always been a bit more widely available because it is legal in most states, except for like one, I think. And, well, in Canada, it's available and it's legal. Not under 18 or 19, depending on the state, the province. In the US, it depends. Some states are 21. And no beers in convenience stores, which really, really sucks in British Columbia. Come on, British Columbia, get your party started! No, that's not a thing. But in Quebec, you can get it at convenience stores, a bit like in the US. And at Costco. Yeah, in Quebec, you can get beer at Costco, people. Welcome to Costco. We love you. I love you too. You have beer. I mean, what's wrong with the oh, whatever. West Coast is all about marijuana. If you haven't noticed this, well, now you know. They do have Napa Valley and Okanagan Valley in Oregon where they do like wine, but quite frankly, it's not a thing. The main thing is marijuana here. Again, YouTube, don't freak out. This is all very legal here. I'm Piper. You're listening to While You Wait. We are talking about teens versus self-driving cars, and one of the pros of having a self-driving car is that your teenager is most certainly going to experience with drugs and alcohol. If not both, one or the other. And then if your teen doesn't do that, well, maybe, just maybe, let them go to MIT. Because the little geniuses that don't do anything else than study, and they don't go to parties and nothing like that. So that could be an option, but I think it's more rarely available that your teen is not going to try that. And since they're also getting their driver's license and they're also wanting this independence, so to take the car to go places, and maybe they don't know that there's going to be alcohol or drugs and it's going to happen there, like this is when it's going to happen, and too late it has happened, so they don't very much think about it, and then they take the car. I mean, some people in the comment sections have actually done this and been, well, arrested for it.
And still survive.
Still survive. But we do not encourage that. I myself have to say that, like, one time. I think everybody has that one time where they took the car and they kind of knew that it was not a good idea. It was not a good idea. And everybody doesn't want to do it, but at some point you're only human, and unfortunately these things happen. That being said, if you're a teenager, that will happen. If you're an adult, it will happen. So having these self-driving capabilities / features on your vehicle makes it a lot less dangerous for you and for the people on the road that night, that day. I mean, who day drinks, people? But still. Teenagers must. So that's the thing. You need to keep this under consideration. That by having this self-driving feature, your teenager will be less at risk of incidents, accidents, and also adults. But we're talking about teens right now, right? We're talking about teens. So there is less risks of accident because you have another person driving for you, and that person is not a person, it's a self-driving car. It's an actual AI robot. It's an algorithm. It's some sensors. It's a whole bunch of other things that actually calculate stuff. So you got cameras, sensors, and, well, of course, data that is analyzed. So it's all happening there. It's all happening there in the car for you. I'm not saying that we encourage drug and alcohol use while driving. It's illegal. You should not do that. But the thing is, humans do stupid things, and that is a thing that we have all, I'm pretty sure, done once in our life. So if we did have self-driving, when we did that, it would have been less risky for us and for the safety of others on the road, right? Yeah, we like that. We don't want anything to happen, right? And most of the actual accidents related to teens or young adults are related to alcohol or drug use. So they were under the influence when driving, and that accounts for 50% from what I've seen in statistics. Now, there are many statistics out there. We're talking about Canada, and it's different between provinces. But in general, people will get into accidents because they're not paying attention or they're under the influence. Okay, that being said, even the blind can
drive now.
Even the blind can drive now.
Because
it's self-driving. Because it's literally self-driving. So even the blind can drive now. It's not the blind leading the blind. It's the self-driving car leading the blind. It's way more safety. Way more safety. I definitely am all for that. Another issue that happens with teenagers is social media. So, driving and texting. Even though your car has CarPlay and all of these other amazing features, teenagers, well, if they want to get laid, and the girl is actually like responding right now, they're gonna take the phone. They're gonna do it. If adults do it, imagine when you're 16 and you really want it. I mean, you will text and drive. Which you're not supposed to. Nobody's supposed to text and drive. You're supposed to be fully concentrated in the driving. But sex is a thing. It's always gonna be a thing. Meaning that if the car self-drive, again, we're still in the pros of teenagers having self-driving cars to their accessibilities. So that's where we're getting at. Now, if they're texting, because, okay, some people still call, but quite frankly, I've seen only Indian people here in Canada are still calling people. I've seen them all the time. They're literally on the phone, the real phone. But all the other people are actually texting or voice texting. But that doesn't count. You're still not paying attention. You're voice texting. So same but different. You need to think about this if you have a teenager, that if they have a self-driving car and they do text, which they will. Well, they will. I mean, they will. It does not go like, no, my kid's the best kid. No, nobody's kid's the best kid and nobody's parents are the best parent. It does not exist. So that being said, it will happen. The fact that it will happen when they're behind the wheel of a self-driving car means that if they're not paying attention, the car will brake for them, possibly, depending on the features. Again, depending on the features of your self-driving car, it will try to evade the accident, or, well, it would beep, or it will do something to get your teen's attention so that they react to what's happening in front or behind or near them, in that sense. So any distraction that a teenager could have, either under the influence with drugs or alcohol, or by texting, swiping, or something like that on their phone, well, that can all be minimized with self-driving cars. Well, the safety of them can actually be bigger than the risk of potential accidents. So it's a good thing to think about, people. It's really a good thing to think about. Now, let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. We're going in the sex direction. Why? Because I'm Piper and you're listening to While You Wait, the podcast you listen to while you wait to charge your EV, while you're on your lunch break and you're looking to actually think more about EVs and everything happening in the vehicle technology future. Which the future is now, people. It's the present. So thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to actually subscribe to the channel for more amazing podcasts like this one. We also have videos, shorts, and pictures. Make sure you go on the front page of the channel and that you click on all those buttons. They're really cool to click. Come on, you can do it. Always put me in your bookmarks. Just so if you don't know what to do, well, you have us there to listen to whenever you want to, however you want to. Super easy. Sex. Teenagers do think a lot about sex. It's a thing. Their hormones is like crazy. They're at that age. You all remember, you were all teenagers. I mean, this is a thing. This is a this is a thing. That being said, when you get your first vehicle or when you get your driver's license, usually it's like getting a tent to go camping. You're gonna have sex in the car. It's gonna happen. It's like your room without your parents on the other side of the door. I mean, you finally have this independence. So yes, you will have sex in the car. This is a lot of chances. I mean, I don't know how many. I don't have these stats, but I'm assuming it's very, very high. So the pros of having a self-driving car due to your teen having sex. We're talking, oral, hand, whatever, being distracted by sex while driving. We wish they would pull over, but sometimes, that's not what they pull. So the thing is, you would have these self-driving capabilities so that if something of a sexual nature happens and your teenager is distracted because, well, something is happening to them, well, the car can self-drive, so the car can help. Again, it's all about distractions and the car taking these judgments or making these decisions for the person behind the wheel. Okay, so yeah, not proud of it, but true. See, I knew. Even Carl says, damn, 16. I mean, yeah, people do that when they're teenagers. Then they grow up and, their libido's something else. They try to rationalize it. Some can't. They're called swingers. But it's all cool. It's all cool. We're not going there. That being said, you can, again, like we said, track your teenager. Make sure to know where they are, when they are. You can know which route they went on. So did they go see their girlfriend? And, well, you can also...
find out if your son's gay.
Yeah, you can find out if your son's gay. I mean, you can... It's data, people.
Pick up Patrick.
Data is beautiful. Yeah, if he picks up Patrick and they go, like, on that street. Plus, you have access to the car, so you know how long they were parking for, what did they use the AC, or if it's winter time, if they use a defrost system for like 20 minutes while they were parked. I mean, you can know all of these things. And so a teenager is certainly gonna have sex in the car, or they're gonna use the car as their own apartment. That's your first independence. That's the first time you have a place for you. So yes, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever friend is gonna be in the car with you, and you will live your first experiences in your car. It will happen. By having a self-driving car or something that is similar to that, well, you're just minimizing all of these risks and you're keeping, as a parent, a little bit of control and you're accumulating this data to know what's happening when it's happening. Now, you do it however you want, but I all know that you had sex behind the wheel when you were not parked and parked. And so these two things need to be kept under consideration. And we're still all alive, which is great. But I mean, some people that are not alive right now could say the difference. Some did not make it. Some did these experiences and did not make it. When I was in Reunion Island, there was a crazy story about a girl, doing something to her boyfriend and did not make it. The girl did not make it. The guy made it without an important piece of the guy's anatomy, but he made it. So you don't want that to happen to your teenager. Imagine the rest of their life. Just buy them a self-driving car. Well, buy it for you and then lend it to them.
Use our coupon.
And use our coupon code. Yes, because we do have a referral link. If you're thinking of purchasing a Tesla, please do use our referral link. It's right down there in the video description, because this referral link would allow us to accumulate points, and with these points, we can go and visit a Tesla factory, we can get some Tesla merch, and all of that because of your amazing support. So thank you so much for supporting us and being there. You can also schedule demo test drives. Yeah, with that referral link. It's gonna give you like discounts, things like that, plus we'll accumulate points. So it's a give. Don't worry. It's all about Tesla right now. Bam! Okay, we're done with the pros. Let's move on to the cons. What are the cons of teens versus self-driving cars? So of your teen having a self-driving cars, of course there's gonna be cons. There has to be cons, or else you'll be like, no, Piper, no, nothing can be like all cool and bad. And okay, so there is a few cons. What are the cons? Okay. What?
I can't see any cons.
You can't see any cons. I know that they're very rare. Okay, so teens, like some adults, are actually a bit. They don't necessarily like for their parents to control things. So there's a possibility of them overriding or trying to override the system, much like deactivating Find My or doing things like that. I'm not saying it's a con. We're just talking about cons. I'm not saying that this is like a reason to not purchase it.
If your kid can do that, he's a good.
MIT. If he can override the safety features, the parental features, and if he did see all of these like YouTube videos where they do like put a little weight on the steering wheel while they do the self-driving and all that, and he's doing that, I mean, he's a clever kid. He's a clever kid. You need to give it to him or her or they, them, doesn't matter. But I mean, this could happen with anything. I mean, they could override a gas car by putting nitro in it. You would kind of see it though. I think you would see it. It could be for them. Because they have this, I'm gonna try to override it.
And they're gonna study.
And they're gonna study. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, it's not that bad of a con, but we need to put it out there. Now that could lead them to possibly, try to text, try to take drugs and alcohol and drive the car, try to sleep in the car. All of these things that would help, would definitely make so that they could be more distracted. Like do it for real, being like, okay, let's drunk drive with my self-driving car and let's test it out. But that's just another conversation you need to have with your teen. I mean, it would be the same but different if you didn't have these features. So as long as these features are on, it's still more safety there. Now, things they will do that will distract them, again, that kind of goes in the same way that if they know that these things are supposed to help them, they might just test them out for real in that sense. But okay, that's kind of like the only major con, and I don't think it's a big con. I think it's like not that big of a con. Then privacy concerns. Some parents are kind of freaky about this, but unless you get a Chinese car, you should be fine. If you have privacy concerns for this like data that the car is accumulating, then like Tesla should be fine because it's still an American company, I think. And then, but if you buy a BYD, which is completely Chinese, well, then there's maybe more chances that this data, much like the data on TikTok, is gonna go to places.
Your kid's gonna be recognized in China.
Yeah, your kid's gonna be recognized in China, and his girlfriend too. So that's something you need to know. But it's terms and conditions and privacy policies. Every software, every new update has those. It's not just a feature for self-driving cars. It's a feature for all of them and every one of them. So that. You can talk about it. Leave a comment if any of this makes sense to you or doesn't. I mean, we're all for discussion here on While You Wait, the podcast that you listen to while you wait for your EV to charge or for your lunch break to end. I'm Piper. And let's go a little bit more in the live comment section and in the counter arguments. So teens versus self-driving cars. Who wins? Who wins? The teen or the self-driving car?
Would you prefer?
Would you prefer
when you have-
your teen to have a self-driving car? And if you don't have teenagers, well, that's fine. Would you have preferred yourself to actually have a self-driving car when you started out? Now, Dave Frank says, a friend of mine I don't think that's... What? Is that true? Can you really run a car on vegetable oil? I mean, that's like the water vehicle. Oh my God. Okay. Well, let's not go there. Let's come back to teens versus self-driving cars. Teens versus self-driving cars. Okay, so the counter arguments to this, which are in favor of the teens and self-driving car, would be that actually, well, humans make errors. We all made it. I mean, most people here in the comment section have openly admitted that they did drink and drive. They did take drugs and drove at one point in their life. I'm not saying that they're doing it every single day, but that has happened to them. Some people have had sex or some sort of sex while driving their vehicle. Others have actually texted at least once behind the wheel. These are all things that humans are susceptible to, all of these distractions, even maybe just looking at a billboard or looking at your kid that it's in the back seat and talking to them, or if there's like some, distractions in the back, like two people arguing or things like that. This is really all human distractions, and humans get distracted quite easily. Why? Because we need to survive. So our brain is always calculating all of the possibilities we could die. So every time there's a little noise, every time you see something flashy, you look, because you want to make sure that you're processing this data and you're not dying. The problem with that is, well, when you're driving, you're actually like training your brain to do it in another way. So you can't look there, because then you're not looking at the road, and that is dangerous because you're supposed to drive, not look at what's happening with that police car over there. So that is some things that humans are just not necessarily capable of processing. Whereas an actual self-driving car, like a real self-driving car, could process some of that information for you. And well, that's a really good help, meaning that if you do get distracted, if you have drank a little bit of alcohol, again, I'm not saying over the limit, but even if you drank a little bit of alcohol and you're not over the limit, that still can impede your judgment and your reflexes and your ability to drive. Drugs, same thing. And then if you are with a girlfriend and she's touching your thigh, I mean, that also could make it so you're not paying attention as much on the actual road. These are all things that people do without noticing it. So the self-driving car, it will do that for you. It's not, no self-driving car is going to be like, oh, look at that other car. Whoa, I actually want that car. I wonder what tire size this car has. No, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. So the car is never going to get distracted. It might not process everything. It might think that this is a cone and it's a human, but in the end, it's still just adding more safety and security. It's adding more data to you behind the wheel. You're not supposed to, again, at the time of this recording, let the car completely self-drive. In general, you should still be behind the wheel and be an attentive driver. Now we have Chris who says muscle memory. Yeah, that's the thing humans have, muscle memory. Meaning that, well, they develop kind of reflexes with muscle memory so that it helps them drive. Like if you're shifting gears and things like that, you do it. I hadn't drive like shift stick for a while, at least like kind of 7 years.
No, in the reunion.
Exactly. I hadn't driven for like 7 years. And then I went to Reunion Island and I had a car that was shift stick. And took me like no time to get back into it. Once you learned it, it's like getting back on skates or a bicycle. We do have this capability. We do. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to get distracted. Even though you have reflexes and you have memory muscle and you know how to shift, or you think about putting your blinker every time you're turning, still, that doesn't mean you're going to see the person in your dead spot. I mean, that doesn't mean that the guy who just cuts you off, you're going to be able to brake fast enough. These are things that these, well, self-assist or self-driving cars have that can think for you about these things. I do not miss manual transmission now. Well, of course, with all of these new cars, I mean, some of them are automatic, especially electric vehicles, because there's no transmission in them. And quite frankly, I don't miss it either. I mean, it is a more active drive. I'm gonna say it's fun for a second car. It's cool to drive with this stick. It's a different type of driving, and it does make it very active, because you need to like always be shifting. But I think at one point it becomes such a reflex, then it's just like driving automatic. You don't even notice it anymore. It's like you brake, you accelerate. So that's my take on it. I'm not sure what you think, but make sure to drop a comment. All of these things, well, they lead us to the teens versus self-driving cars and how good would it really be, or how bad can it really be. So far, I'm not seeing a lot of cons.
Okay. Make a poll.
A good idea.
Would you prefer?
Good idea. Let's do a poll. So, would
Let's do a poll.
you prefer
Your kid to learn.
your
to drive
kid
itself.
or your teen to drive, and then let's put self-driving, or we're gonna say
No.
old method, self-driving. Oh yeah, we can say self-driving yes or no. Self-driving yes, self-driving no. To drive a self-driving car. Yes or no? Let's start this poll. Great. So we'll really have like a real answer from everybody who's there. Yeah, in the live comment section. Make sure that you actually subscribe to this channel and turn on all of your notifications, because we are live at 12 p.m. Pacific time. That's British Columbia, Vancouver time, for the podcast, and it lasts 1 hour and a half. And after the live broadcast, well, it is placed into a playlist which has the same name, While You Wait, and you can listen to it whenever, wherever you want. But being here live is just not the same experience. We have a community in the live chat, everybody interacts with each other. That just makes it a lot more pleasant. Okay, so would you prefer your teenager to learn to drive with a self-driving car, or no self-driving car? And when we're saying learn to drive, also just drive it every single day. I mean, in that sense.
They go at night.
Yeah, they go at night. I mean, they're teenagers.
Friends and they come back.
Yeah,
Would you prefer to have self-driving
Yeah.
cars?
that's good. If your teen is leaving at night and they're going with friends to a party or something like that, and you have the choice between
Or even to study.
Oh, even to study. Yeah, that's good. Even to study. You have the choice to lend them your Tesla with the self-drive, like full self-drive, or lend them, well, your gas vehicle.
Charger.
Yeah, your old Dodge Charger. I mean, which one? Which one?
Which one?
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been a better poll.
Huh?
You know, would you let your kid drive your old Charger or your old Mustang,
Yeah.
or the Tesla self-driving mode if they're going to study?
It's true. Like, imagine that they're actually, going to study in the nighttime.
And ask for your car.
And they ask for the car.
Which one?
They ask which one you give. Which one you give the teenager.
A Mustang, 1969 Mustang.
Yeah, 1969 Mustang.
That you put so much love in it.
So Chris
Tesla.
is saying, wreck the Dodge. Yeah, but your kid in it. That's the problem. So you want to lose a kid? You can get parts for it. I get it, but I mean the kid's in the Dodge. How much you love that kid? Did you have this kid with your mistress? Like, I mean, what?
What?
Good luck fixing a Tesla in a timely manner. Well, the point is the Tesla is not gonna get the kid's dead, and that can make another kid. Well, I think Chris actually loves cars more than humans. That's good to know. One of my neighbors will agree with you. I guess you're always hearing them fight, right? With their kid. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
I would give my kid.
Oh, this is tight so far. We are 50-50. What's wrong with you people? What's wrong with you? Who chose?
Okay, close that poll.
Who chose no?
We need to review
Who
that
chose no? Like,
If your kid's going on a small road, would you then just let
okay, let's do another poll because I think you did not grasp the concept. Your teen is going to a party.
to study?
We're saying say party. Your kid is going to a party, a freaking party with people that are 21 and older. Your kid has breasts at 15. That's that kind of kid, you know. Your teen is going to a party.
But
Do
not
you
let him drive for that party? Your Mustang 19.
Do you let... Okay, that's too complicated. We need to shorten it. Your teen is going to a party. You
Time then.
make them, your parents, you make them drive you make them drive the Tesla.
Okay, then you make him drive. Then the poll is Tesla or the Mustang.
Tesla Mustang. Here we go. Super easy. It's in. Okay. Let's recap this poll, people. Let's recap this poll. This is Piper. The podcast is called While You Wait. Teens versus self-driving cars. My teen daughter is going to be at a party with Matt Goats. Got it? No idea what you're talking about.
There's fighting.
There's fighting. There's a lot of fighting.
Tesla winning.
So your kid, your teenager, is going to a party. They have like their driver's license, but you need to lend them a car. You need to choose which car you're gonna lend them to go to the party. They don't choose. They're your teen. You decide for them, okay? So you are deciding for them. Which do you think would be the more safer option for your teen to get to that party and come back home at like 4 in the morning, you know? So which car would you choose? Knowing that Tesla has self-driving capabilities and that the Mustang 69 does not. Knowing that, which one would you feel more secure putting your teenager in? If you're like, Piper, if I see myself in the Mustang. Yeah, but you got a DUI. So, that being said, I know every person might want something different, but you need to consider that even though you would like to drive the Mustang when you were a kid, the kids that are growing up right here, right now, the Mustang is not necessarily their dream car. There's a whole bunch of other cars. There's hybrids, there's EVs now. Some of the kids that are like learning to drive right now, their dream car might even be an electric vehicle. It might not be at all a gasoline car. And I remember when I learned to drive, like there was all of the Scion, I think they were called, like electric vehicles were very, very like starting. Like the Prius was like starting, you know? All of these were there. So I was quite frankly thinking that at one point in my life I would drive an electric car. I knew it would happen. I knew I would have an electric car sometime in my life because there were some on the market when I started driving. Now, the thing is, they were so new that I couldn't purchase one, I couldn't afford one, my family couldn't. So that did not happen. But I still had my eye on the electric vehicles out there. So I knew that was going to be my car. So think about that. So far in our poll, we have Tesla, who's winning with 67%. That makes more sense. Who wants to kill their kid? This is like, what type of fans do I have? I mean, come on, people. Okay, let's end this poll. Bam. All right. I got the results I wanted. You just need to play with the words. Your teen is going to a party. You make them drive a Tesla or a Mustang. 66% says Tesla, 33% says Mustang. When we were saying Mustang, we're not talking about the Mach-E. We were talking about like an old 1969 Ford Mustang GT, whatever. That's been in your barn. It smells like oil and all of that. Plus, gas is expensive. But he's gonna ask you $20. Why would you do that? Plus, he's probably gonna come back dead. I mean, so this is with the car trashed. I mean, this is a collectible now. 1969. Come on, you don't let a kid drive a 1969. You give them the Tesla. Plus, you're probably fully insured for the Tesla. And it self-drives, meaning there's no problem there.
The gas.
And the gas. And the gas. But why? Why? Meaning that, quite frankly, you are always better to have a self-drive car and a human behind the wheel. I'm not saying to only have the self-drive, and I'm not saying to only have the human, But since we have this possibility to merge both together to have a lot more safety and security for the people inside of the car and outside of the car, why would you not take this chance for people to be more secure and more safe in the car and on the street? Now, Carl says, not a chance, they drive a classic. See, that's more like it. I'm keeping the car for me. And that's what you should do. You should give them like the Tesla, and you should keep like the old gas cars for you. Because, well, they're not self-driving, and a teenager's a teenager. We did a whole podcast on this. What did you not learn? Like sex, drugs, alcohol. What? Seriously? Rock and roll, people. I barely let my wife drive my Tesla. Okay, so Chris, you have a little bit of an attachment issue there. It's fine. Don't worry, I'm sure there's a group for this. It's okay to be in love with your vehicles. That is fine. But just know that even though you don't let your wife drive your Tesla can drive itself. So it's not your wife you need to trust, it's your Tesla. If you trust your Tesla more than your wife, you should be fine to let her drive. Please share this video. There's an arrow right underneath this video that says share. Click on it and share it within one click.
Please don't share.
Or, well, I hope Chris's wife is not actually listening to this. But, well, what can I do? I just host this podcast, which is called While You Wait for your electric vehicle to charge, or while you wait for your lunch break to end. We discuss about subjects like teens versus self-driving cars, or the cost of self-driving cars. I mean, anything and everything related to electric vehicles, gas vehicles, sometimes it goes in. And, well, of course, we also have other videos on the channel, so make sure that you go there and you check it out. Oh, so Chris says his wife is actually listening. Okay, good to know you have that type of relationship. Hello, Chris's wife. Don't worry, you can drive my Tesla. It almost self-drives, so I don't mind. Carl says, Vita just left to exercise. So that is Carl's wife. So she was there, she's not there anymore. Thank you to everybody that supports me and this channel with their wives. This is great. Yep, 30 years is insane. Wow, yeah, I guess it is. That's like double the teenagers you would have. Like, that's 2 times 15 years old. But not to worry, we're talking about everything and anything that is more technologically advanced in the future related to cars in general. Now, I've been posting a few videos. I've tried guerrilla charging. I guess that nobody knows what guerrilla charging is. It's just like when you try to get free electricity. It's like you go someplace and you try to charge, but, well, you're not paying for it, kinda. Is it legal? That depends. I mean, this might not be moral, but it's not illegal. So I have changed the title to this video, and we are playing a little bit with, well, different long format videos that we're gonna post on here. The podcast serves to educate and entertain, and also it gives us our YouTube watch hours, because, well, this podcast is recorded when we are not yet monetized. So thank you to everybody who is supporting us on our Patreon, patreon.com/2girls1electric car. There's many ways that you can support. You can support by actually subscribing to the channel right here, right now, turning on all of your notifications, and making great engagements with all of the videos and podcasts by leaving comments, being crazy, resharing the video on all of your social media platforms. And of course, you can leave a little like. Yeah, because likes count too. But quite frankly, the most important thing we try to achieve here is discussions. So we really want you to engage, to talk to your friends about these subjects, to come back in the comment section and to discuss it more, so that we can make more super awesome, well, podcasts and also videos, from road trips to how to plug your EV or anything related to electric vehicles. If there's something you want to see but you can't do it yourself, well, make sure that you drop it in the comment if you've seen some misinformation on the internet. Well, make sure you drop it in the comment as well, because there's a good chance that there's somebody in the comment section that's going to be able to answer your question. Yeah, I'm not the only one answering the questions. I mean, this community is growing every single day. It's crazy, and people are actually helping out in the live comment section. So thank you to everybody who's doing that. Teens versus self-driving cars. Who wins? I mean, both win. That's the whole point. Both win. You should definitely have a self-driving car for any stage of your life. But teens being teens is most certainly the best time to get them a self-driving car. So give yourself a self-driving car, and then if you do have a teenager, make sure that they learn to drive on the self-driving car, because it will soon be something of the past. It will possibly be over. No more driving. Yeah, things will just drive themselves. It's gonna happen, and we're definitely gonna do a future podcast on this. My take on this is that if you have the technology, why not use it? And especially that this technology has been shown and has proven to reduce risk of accidents in general, in all population, not just teenagers. So use it, keep on driving your car. You're still a human person, and you still have all of these, experiences, and
Keep your 1969.
exactly, keep your 1969 Mustang for Sunday rides, but for your everyday commute, make sure that you don't get into accidents for yourself and for other people's safety, because accidents on the route or something. So make sure that you do that. If you have any other questions or comments, drop them. I'm Piper, and this is While You Wait, the podcast you listen to while you charge up your electric vehicle. Oh yeah! Bam! Bam! There we go. This was great. Good thing I don't have a teenager. Definitely don't not want a kid after all we've been talking about, right?